Alrighty, welcome back to another episode of Post-Fades Cheesesteaks, your favorite Philly-based sports podcast, I hope. I am Dakota, joined with my London bloke, Mr. Timothy Mullen. How are we today?
We're good. We're good. No complaints. Enjoying life.
It's good.
It's getting closer. I mean, training camp kicked off.
It did. I was there. It was fun. Yeah.
Things. Yeah, you were showing out, doing your thing. It's always at these points you look for two things. One, everyone's healthy. Yeah, we've already had Ramsey's knee surgery. We've had Burrow get hurt. Who seems like he's all right. I think the dude for the Broncos, Tim Patrick's now done. Like
again,
there's a couple things you look for in training camp. Stay healthy. Have everyone show up. Don't deal with the Zach Martin, Chris Jones shit that's going on with these contract problems. Shout out Howie because we never deal with them. And have like those random, no worries, have those random players with huge highlights. Like it seems like Calvin Ridley is blowing up the internet now. Going out there and running routes. Remember when Jordan Davis was there, just steamrolling centers?
Yep.
It's the third leg of this, random players with great highlights. I've heard great things about Jalen Carter. Haven't seen any ridiculous highlight pop up yet, but the Eagles seem to be hitting on all three. We're healthy, knock on wood, no contract holdouts, and I'm hearing words about Nolan Patrick, Jalen Carter, the young guys just balling out.
Yeah, I was saying to Nick, because Nick and I went to training camp on Tuesday. Because I get to go every year, but
okay, Mr. Flex here.
I'm just saying, like I feel like a lot of people, like, because I put on social media, and a lot of people are like, well, how'd you get there? I was like, bro, I post this every year. Like I used to intern with them. Like I have friends there still. Like I can't get tickets, but like I can go and hang out. But yeah,
people are gonna catch on. They're like, oh, this is the same photo of your, like Carson Wentz isn't on the team anymore.
It's just the same. Yeah. Oh, is that Brian Westbrook? Back in fucking Lehigh. Damn, those were the days.
Seriously, yeah. Oh, those are the good days. I love Lehigh.
Yeah, Lehigh was great because you actually had like grandstands that you could like sit down forever, and there's so much to do. And I remember there's so many photo ops and giant player cutouts and signings. I have a football in my room somewhere, just has like 20 different player signings on it. But yeah,
you know what I gotta say?
Good old days.
One little thing I'll say, I always did because I was always a Lehigh every year kind of person.
And
they would always do like it was always the obscure players, the rookies, the fringe line players that always come up and sign for you. They would do the same thing. Then they would have the positional people, so all the quarterbacks have to sign this day. When McNabb doesn't want to do it, but he's got to do it. And like I'd always get signatures from anyone. Coolest one that I can remember at the moment. Like this guy is like so cool right now that I'm like thrilled about it. Leonard Weaver, when he was Pro Bowl fullback,
he was a cool guy. Weaver. He was so cool.
Dude, he was a cool guy. Like I knew he was a good player, like fullback, but he was like one of the best fullbacks. He was like cool. He's talking about basketball. I was asking him what his skill like, what does he play, guard or blah blah blah. And that was like my favorite. Like, damn, that was a nice one to get today. My best, without even thinking, hands down. I remember didn't even realize I had it till after the Super Bowl. And I looked at my ball that has all these different signatures. So I'm like looking at it, and most of them have like scribbles that you can't even read or recognize.
Mine are starting to get faded.
And there's this one guy with number 9, and I'm like, who the fuck? No way. And look, a little N, little F, and then you're like, damn, there he is. We had that quarterback signing day when he was the rookie out of Arizona that no one knew about, no one cared about.
Okay.
And I was like, that was one that put a smile on my face. It's like, you got to be kidding me. So you never know, man. You show up to training camp, get that rookie 4th round quarterback signature from Arizona. He might be the Super Bowl MVP one of these years.
Yeah, it's way more a lot of teams don't have the kind of they'll have like one or two open practices, but it's not like how Lehigh used to be.
Yeah, it kind of sucks, but
I had I don't know where it is now, but I had a Sean Andrews glove.
It's a good
he
one.
signed a glove and threw it into the crowd, and I caught it, and the thing was like the size of my face. It's not bigger.
Oh, yeah, he's a big boy.
Big hands. But
yeah, he's a big boy.
Yeah, I was telling Nick though, I was like, oh yeah, I think Nolan Smith's gonna be like have a really sneaky quick start to the year just because all the pressure's gonna be on like Reddick and Sweat. So I'm excited. I mean, we'll see. I always hold my breath because training camp there will always be players that stand out and then just don't. Like I can't tell you how many consecutive years I heard Jalen Reagor had a phenomenal camp and then he just did nothing.
That's
like
true. Yeah.
I was there. It was like 3 years ago or 2 years ago when they had the joint practice with the Patriots. He caught a one-hander over who's that cornerback who's now with the Rams or the Chargers. blanking on
Casey
his name.
Jackson.
Yeah, he caught a one hitter over Jackson for in the end zone, and I was like, man, why can't we get this during regular season? And then obviously never panned out, but
It's see, that's the part of the third leg of a
tough to
successful training
evaluate.
camp.
But
Random players making big highlights, but hey, it's a fun time. Optimistic.
yeah, yeah. Marcus Mariota threw a couple interceptions. It's just what it is.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
Listen, it is what it is. But speaking of the Eagles, though, I know we're
Mm-hmm.
getting into our top 10 offensive tackles. This is another list heavily populated with Eagles, I would say. It actually
Yeah.
features,
I
I got both
have
tackles on the list. I don't know
I
about
have
you, but
I have two Eagles players.
so I'd hope so. There's only
Yeah.
two tackles, unless you're going with the third tackle. This is, I don't even know who our backup tackle is.
Well, I mean, is 20% of a list, is that heavy? You said it's a heavy
It's,
list. Hmm?
it's not bad. It's pretty good.
Yeah,
I
well,
mean, we're like the in guard list, we had, I think, 20% or close to it. I
and
forget.
the guard list was like half. Billy's list was like half Tom Brady teammates. So I
That's
mean, I don't
true.
know.
Yeah, that's true. That always
But
helps.
let's start off with yeah. So this is I don't even think I introduced it because we started talking about training camp. This is our top 10, continuing that series of offensive tackles. So the last episode was interior linemen, so guards and centers. So this would be tackles, which that's the position on the line that gets paid the big bucks. They're the ones that honestly are just more of a standout than guards and centers typically, because they have to deal with some of the better players on defense. I'd argue. You got corners coming off blitzes, you got linebackers coming in, you got edge rushers, you got off ball defenders. So there's a lot that they have to kind of look at and take on, and some of them give up a lot of sacks, and the ones that are on our list are the ones that don't give up a lot of sacks and are good at
It's very true.
pass blocking and run blocking. So
I'm looking forward to. This is a position where I'm sure you're going to go buck wild with these measurables. The height and
the
weight hefting on because
measurables.
one thing, I mean, just the best way to put a value on an offensive tackle is like when you do this, like when they do the NFL scouting combine, everyone's drooling like, oh my God, there's this 276 5D end who's running a 4.5 40. He's bench pressed 40 times or whatever. Like it's always the defensive linemen that are just the physical, like just miracles.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
then no one gives any credit to the offensive tackles, even though like these are the guys that have to stop these physical specimens. And they do it. Maybe they don't run a 4.5, but when you put on, when you have 310 to move and you're going 4.9, it's nearly just as impressive as a 270 4.5.
yeah, I mean, and we were just debating, talking about Kelly Green jerseys before we started hopping on, and I was like, hey, maybe I'll get a Lane Johnson because he doesn't get a ton of jersey respect, and I feel like he's been a demon for quite a while here.
Oh yeah,
honestly, since he was drafted, 2014, he's been
incredible.
Pro Bowl caliber since he started. Besides, he had that
If
little
you
steroid or whatever that was incident, and then
uh,
after that, he was good. Well, he was like
honestly,
suspended, so he missed games.
ever
But
since the suspension, he's been
yeah,
better. So I feel like the
yeah,
steroids was holding him back. Maybe he
they were.
just like had the negative effect. They were just making him worse of a player because ever
Yeah,
since the whole steroid thing, he's been so much better.
yeah. But on that note, so let's start it off with our honorable mentions. If you have any, um, I
I
have
do.
I have three offensive tackle honorable
You
mentions.
know what? I'm normally on you about participation
Mm.
trophies, but I also went with three this time.
Okay, well, you
And
lead it off.
I'll give you this. There's a reason that I have three.
Okay.
Because one is like a joint honorable mention. Because these are two. I mean, honestly, I think at one point we had them both number one. They're both solidified, excellent
Ooh.
offensive tackles, but they're just
Mm.
banged up and injured by quite a bit. So I went with, and this is not necessarily reflective of where they are skill wise, because when they're healthy, they are number one on this list. So I
Right.
went with David Bakatari and Tyron Smith.
Ah,
One of
okay.
my favorite. It's
Yeah, yeah.
listen, two
I
elite
debated
all
it.
pro guys. And you know what? There's another one. I'll shout out another guy. I know I hate participation trophies, but I just couldn't find room on this list. Ronnie Stanley, another guy who was number one on our list, who's another veteran who's been banged up. If all three of them could be healthy and play 16 games, they're probably top three, or at least in the conversation for top three.
Yeah, my Tyron Smith wasn't originally in my honorable mentions, but I will just because he hasn't been able to play a full season in
Oh, I
so
mean,
long.
Stanley's getting that same role as
Yeah,
well. It's like it's so rare to even see
and
you play a
they
full
were
season. You
they were
forget.
all like top of the
So good.
class,
So
so good.
did
Yeah,
this, I mean, like you're talking about three unanimous number ones. If they played 16 games, either of those three, they're the number one, I
oh
think, easily.
yeah, But
And
yes,
it's
mine.
just
Do you have another point there, or you were?
I did because then I pulled a Dakota participation trophies for everyone. So that was
Hmm.
actually like my first group of my own bunch.
Oh,
So that's my
tier
my
one, tier two.
12. This is my 12A, 12B, and 12C mixed into one player.
Mm,
Um, my number 11 is a guy young guy. This whole list is filled with guys who came in the league the last 3 years, pretty
okay.
much. He's a young guy. I think I've got to say he's probably the best offensive tackle prospect we've seen the last 5 years coming out of the draft. He's come
Mm.
on okay. They're playing him at right tackle when everyone had him on left, but I think the ceiling's there. I don't think he's hit the ceiling as high as these other guys have, but I think he's on the way. So I went with Penei Sewell from the Lions.
So our participation trophy list is exactly the same except for one player.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. I also have Ronnie Stanley, Lisa Tyron Smith. Penny Sewell, I think, is one of those upcoming risers that he could 100% be on this list
Oh yeah.
next year.
Oh yeah. Especially I think he's gonna play left
Yeah,
tackle this
he's
year.
like 11-12 for sure. Which is
Yeah.
good because his rookie year was horrible. And then
Yeah.
they, try to help him out. He got more integrated, started to learn the playbook a little better and NFL tendencies and all that. So,
You'll notice that a couple of these guys on our list had horrific freshman years,
yeah, there's a
rookie
guy pretty
years.
high on my list that had a pretty bad start to his career too.
It's a tough
Um,
position. It's a
it
tough
is.
position to come in.
I have one player that we argued about this guy a lot. I remember in previous episodes for tackles. And he just missed my list just again, kind of injury bug as well. Ryan Ramczyk, I have just outside the top 10 here.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can I I'll let you continue with yours, but we're very similar here because my number 10 is actually Ryan Ramczyk. But
All right.
I'll
Well,
get you,
go
the floor
no.
is yours. No,
I
no,
don't.
no, no, no. The floor is yours.
I don't have a lot on it. I just know we hold a pretty high torch for him and his former teammate Teron Armstead, but I think both of them have really struggled with injuries and just remaining on the field and playing a full season. So, but what, like you said, a lot of these guys that we're talking about right now who are not making our list, it's because of health concerns. It's like they are top five when they're fully healthy. So, but yeah, I don't have too much notes on him just because he was a participation trophy acceptee. But you can
Fair enough.
roll right into your number 10 then.
Yeah, so I went with him at number 10. There was a couple
Okay.
of things that came in mind when I did this list. I mean, honestly, outside of like I think him and two other guys, now three other guys on my top 10 list were not were not drafted in the last 3 years. This is a very young list.
Okay.
And it's surprising because the last 3 years, if you look at this list, when we are done looking at this, you'll notice that pretty much all of them came out the last 3 years from draft class.
Hmm.
I think that tells you a lot when you see guys like Ronnie Stanley, David Bakatari, and Tyrone Smith all outside of the top 10 mostly because they just can't get by when they're hurt that much. At Tyron Armstead, another guy, just didn't even make my honorable mention because I didn't have room for him. Ramczyk, he's an elite player. Obviously, he slipped up a little bit. He's not the same player he was, but I still think he's like a top five talent. I think we may have been spoiled by how good he was. He kind of reminds me of, and I think it's a good timing with Zach Martin right now. Like Zach Martin has been excellent his entire career, like top five, top one,
Mm.
top three. And at 32, he's still doing it. And now he wants to get paid because he's still doing it and he's gotten better. Ramczyk kind of is like the other way, or makes you appreciate Zach Martin a little bit more because when they were like 3 years ago, Ramczyk and Zach Martin were pretty much two of the best offensive linemen, regardless of position in the NFL.
Hmm.
And Ramczyk is younger than Zach Martin, but he's kind of like slipped up a little bit. Injuries have kicked in. The team hasn't been as good around him. Quarterback change, coaching change, offensive line change. So it's hard to keep the consistency that a guy like Zach Martin is putting up, even though Ramczyk was an all-pro kind of guy. But I think he was just his ceiling is so high. But I think realistically, you've probably seen the best of Ryan Ramczyk. I don't think
Mm.
he's going to get better. I think it's
I
probably
could
a
see
little
that. Yeah.
outside the realm to think that he's going to hit his peak again just because it was so damn high. But he's not bad. He is not bad at any measurable. But I just don't think he's the same guy we got used to because that guy was like literally one of the best offensive linemen, regardless of position. But still very good. And another reason why I'm down to 10 is because he's no longer the best right tackle in football. That belongs to someone else that you'll see much later in this episode.
Yeah. Um, it's so it's funny because Um, I remember the last time we did this, we had a pretty big debate because I was team Armstead, you were team Ramczyk because I was saying, Teron Armstead's better. So my number
Mm,
10
eh,
is Teron
don't you
Armstead.
dare.
Yeah,
Oh my,
yeah,
do not give me
yeah,
this.
yeah.
Are you kidding me? I mean,
Uh,
listen, I wouldn't fight you on Ramczyk as an honorable mention, but Armstead, dude's been hurt all the time. Like,
I mean,
even for you.
no. Let me pull up
Oh,
his
come on.
numbers
If you
for
have in
you
your
here.
top 10, I expect you to have this ready for you because the guy,
Well, I
he
had
did not,
another player up.
he
13.
played, dude, he missed plenty of games this year. He's been hurt a lot.
He hasn't honestly, he hasn't played a full season, but
Eh,
like in his
Listen, I didn't
entire
have my
career,
top 10, but here,
his
yeah,
entire
here
career.
you are just
Yeah, but
ignoring that
when
part.
he misses games, but when he is playing, he is a top. I would argue he's a top three talent at tackle.
I mean, sure, but missing games is a very important part. That's why he's kind of in that David Bakatari, Tyrone Smith, Ronnie
I
Stanley
get it.
lot.
I get it. But I mean, last year he played 13 games. The year before that was eight. Not great. The year before that was 14, 15. But he was also on a new team. So I'm hoping, and in 13 games, he also made the Pro Bowl. I know we go back and forth on how legit the Pro Bowl is, but for linemen, I feel like, it depends. Some of them are
Oh, I
always in it.
completely disagree.
Some of them are, I mean, when you have only four Pro Bowls in your career, I feel like you're getting voted in when you're at your peak. And so I think
I think with linemen in particular, you get voted in once, everyone hears your name, and then you're pretty much set for the rest of your career because they just know your name. Offensive linemen aren't guys that people know very well. Wide receivers, running backs, big stat position, like group stats mean a lot. But linemen, dude, you just
I
if you're a rookie as in the Pro Bowl, you're gonna be spending the rest of your career in the
I
Pro
think
Bowl.
my ten and my nine, I agree with you, have both reached their peaks that we'll ever see, but their peaks are crazy high. I mean, Armstead's off any injury list. Like he's good to go for the Dolphins right now. So fingers crossed he stays healthy. And I think he'll, be back in that top five consideration if he plays a full year. But I mean, he's a fucking phenomenal player. But I'm actually gonna skip you and go right into my nine
Oh,
because we've been mentioning his name already.
please do.
Um, and this is a guy, we were joking with Billy about his Packers.com knowledge and his works cited. But I have David Bakatari
Yeah.
here at number nine. I think again we've seen his peak, but I mean he's been on the All Pro list, five times already. And last year he played 11 games. Previous year he had that big injury, so he only played in one game. But I think there's no indication that he's suffering from anything right now. He's good to go. I mean, he's got a new quarterback in Jordan Love now. But I mean, he's been arguably one of the best pass blocking offensive tackles in the last decade. Um, you know, at left tackle, it's hard to find many that are as good. I mean, 10 pressures on 339 passing snaps last year. That's holding down the fort. So I think he'll fingers crossed on him and Armstead that they'll at least make their way through 14, 15 games. Who knows with linemen at that age at full seasons. But yeah, I think they're both like it's such an if, but when both are healthy, they're both top five talents without question. So, but
I won't argue too much there. I think the injury concern is real. Obviously he missed the
mhm,
whole year 2 years ago, and it definitely seemed like it lingered into this
a
season.
little bit, yeah, but he caught up.
Yeah, but now it's a different quarterback too. He's going from a guy like Aaron Rodgers who gets the ball out of his hand quickly
Yeah,
to a guy like
less
Jordan Love
mobile.
who's
Yeah,
yeah, who's not going to be very,
so we'll see.
he's not going to have that initial clock in his head. Like, veteran quarterbacks like Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady, they do not want to get hit, and they're good enough where they can control whether they're going to get hit or not.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I mean, listen, I had him as my honorable mention because
Yeah,
I just want to see him stay consistent. If he's healthy, he's up there in that top five, top three, top one argument. But we need to see that because he's now lost 2 seasons I think, from injury. And the year before he got his big injury, he only played, I think it was like 12 games. So concerning, especially at 31 or 32, whatever he is.
yeah, okay.
So my number nine, I've got again a theme of my list: young guys. So this is a guy who's entering his third season, just like three other guys on my list are. Um, so he was the guy, speaking of injuries, guy who was hurt last year, missed pretty much the entire season. But when he played his rookie season, he was incredible. He was a second team All Pro, immediately held down the left side, the blind side of one of the best young quarterbacks in the entire NFL. So I'm going to go with a guy who I think is going to be healthy. He's only 24, so it's a little different than a guy like Bakatari or Teron Smith or Armstead to bounce back from injury. So I went with Rashawn Slater
Okay.
at my number 9.
He's my number 8, so that works out
Okay,
pretty
fair
well.
enough. Yeah,
Yeah.
see, I don't know about you. I have 4 guys from that same draft class.
I don't know. I might actually also have 4 of them. I don't know
It's
the
it
draft
honest
years. I'd have to look at it, but
depends on how the rest of their careers play out. This could be easily the greatest like offensive tackle draft class ever. Like I
mm,
think 3 of them already made the All Pro team um, in 2 years. So they're off to a hot start. He's my number 4 out of one draft class, and he's at number 9 in the league. But I think he's going to come back. He was hurt last year.
mm,
I think this is only negative, but he was so good his rookie year, especially like we said at a
yeah.
position where there's a big drop off from rookie like college to rookie year of the NFL. He showed no drop off, so I'm excited to see what he does when he comes back.
I mean, yeah, he played over 1,000 snaps his rookie year and came. I said this about Quentin Nelson in Rookie of the Year voting, but he came like Rashawn Slater came in 4th in Rookie of the Year voting for as a tackle. Again, linemen don't get in
Yes.
those votings, so I think that's
Listen, I
pretty
mean,
pretty impressive.
just Justin Herbert's set up in a good position because guys like him and Joe Burrow who came up
Yeah,
and their offensive line was terrible. They got beat down a lot. Like Herbert's been hurt a ton. He's been hurt this year a lot. It hurts not having a guy like Rashawn Slater there to protect your blind side.
he was really random fact here. He was born in Sugarland, Texas. That's quite the town name. Sugarland.
Sweetest sweetest place in the
Oh,
South, I would
yeah,
assume.
that's right. You know what? He was a first over. He was the 13th overall pick in the first round. Yeah. 6'3",
Do you
315
know
for your
do you
measurements
know what
there.
school he came from?
Northwestern.
Without cheating? Oh, if you're cheating, it doesn't count. Like,
It's
come
on the
on,
screen. I know.
hold yourself to some kind of moral
I'll cover my
compass.
eyes next
Jeez.
time.
All right, go on. Go to are we at your number 9?
He was my number 9, so you can go into your number 9.
That was my number 9.
He was my number 8, so you can go into your number 8.
Oh, I apologize. Yeah, a little mix up there. All right. So I'm going to go with another guy from Rashawn Slater's draft class.
Okay.
And this guy, he's missed a couple games. He played 12 games his rookie year. He played 14 this past season. But I mean, the only reason Slater got bumped down is because I mean we're talking about a small sample period where between these two players, and Slater had nothing this past season where this guy stayed consistent. Um, I actually like his upside. I think he's going to get even better. Where Slater kind of came in was awesome immediately, but this is another guy in a good offense. He's an offense that puts up a lot in passing and run game. He's a very solid run blocker. He's picked up the blind side immediately and dominated since he got in. I'm going with a guy, Christian Darrisaw from the Minnesota Vikings.
That is my number 7.
Wow, look at us.
So our
Well,
lists are
right,
just
well,
like shifted.
I'll let you have this one since I took Slater. Go ahead.
I mean, I have to have a former Virginia Tech Hokie on my list, of course.
Oh, there we go.
But no, yeah, like you said, that the 2021 draft class is pretty nuts. So far they've turned out. He was later in the. I think he was also first round pick. I think he was later
He
in the
was.
draft.
There was 4 offensive tackles taken in that first round. At least I can think off the top of my head that are on my
Mm.
list from that one draft class.
Yeah, but he was also pretty good as a rookie. Not I don't think he didn't have as great as a rookie season as Slater did, but he definitely
No.
took a good jump afterwards.
Yeah, he's improved.
He had a 90.6 run blocking grade from PFF. That's
Yeah.
You don't see many that high, and even his pass blocking was an 82. So he's well-rounded tackle. Maybe. I mean, I don't know how much Kirk runs around with the ball. I don't know what his release time is like. I don't really watch the Vikings a ton, but I mean, when you're ranking top 10 in pass blocking and run blocking, you're doing something right. And like you said, they're pretty. I mean, I don't know how they're going to be without Dalvin Cook now, but they've been pretty balanced, definitely more pass heavy, but they've always had a good, run and pass game in Minnesota. But I mean, Darisaw has been great since he got drafted. So don't have too much more to add. I can give you some. Let me get you his combine numbers for you because I know you love
Oh,
those.
here we go. There we go.
Let's see. Do I not have them? Why do they disappear? Oh, so
This
disappointing.
disappointing you. Disappointing you. Do better.
Damn.
Do
Damn.
better. I think so. Just to touch on some of that, like guys like Slater who came in and kicked the door down. Another guy who will be on my list later, who was also from that draft class, who was a rookie and kicked the door down, was a guy like Tristan Wirfs. These guys came in, kicked the door down immediately, and were awesome. Someone like Darasal, it wasn't even that he looked bad; he was just hurt. He missed 5 games in the beginning of the season. Nothing substantial like Slater did this last year, but he ESPN had him at an 80.5% run block grade, which is second best among tackles. He's the Vikings are a very pass happy team, and one way of looking at it, if your team can throw the ball, I guarantee you have a good offensive line of some capacity, either inside or outside. Um, but yeah, no, he's very solid. I think he's a guy who's actually going to keep getting better. So that's kind of why I'm excited to see how much better he gets. But he's young. He's in a good offense. I think he's extremely talented. I mean, he has all the measurables and athleticism that every one of these first round picks from that same draft class had. I don't know what it was that year, but because they're all about the same age, those parents giving birth to that year were eating their vitamins and their steroids and their hormone filled cow's milk or whatever it was, because they've all grown up to be big boys.
Do you know why I don't have combine numbers for him?
Why?
Because that was the year after COVID, so they canceled the combine.
Oh, come on, do better. Understand your what's going on.
You
But
were the
yeah,
one
no, I
saying where
mean,
are the combine numbers, and I'm like, oh, let me look for him. But he ran an
uh,
unofficial 4.91 40-yard dash. Pretty good.
pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, he's 300 and what, 10 pounds?
15.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty good, pretty good. All right, well, I'll move on to my number 7.
Yep.
So my number 7 is again another younger guy. He's not from that same draft class that we are going to hit on later. A guy
Hmm.
who, like we talked about already, he struggled a lot his rookie year, and even like the second year kind of bled into that, but struggled a ton his rookie year. Ton of penalties, an insane amount of penalties. But he was also known. He's been always known as a pass blocker. There's always been this thing, and once he got out of those rookie year jitters, really did well as a pass blocker. Held down the left side, very athletic. But this year, considering he's a strong pass blocker, and he's always been, I was impressed that he was blocking for the NFL rushing leader. He put down, he played really good. He had one of the best run blocking grades
Hmm.
from ESPN and PFF. Really a guy that's grown into his own. I think everyone was screaming bust when he started, and now he's really starting to produce. So, and again, offense is really starting to grow as he's coming up in the ranks. Getting Devonta Adams helps as well, but
Yeah.
I went with Colton Miller at my
Okay.
number 7 spot.
I dabbled with him on the list. He did not make it though. But I think just because like he just came out of nowhere. So I just want to see a little more consistency. But
See, but the
he's
thing
doing
is,
good. He did really
I
well
don't think
last
he
year.
came out of nowhere. Like he's been in the league. Like don't get me wrong, he started
Maybe,
out terrible.
yeah,
He
but
started out
maybe I don't know.
horrible.
I not heard him prior to like this past season, and
He
then
was I want to say he was a first round pick, and I think it was
well, it was the Raiders, of
2019.
course.
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, he was first round pick, but the guy started out brutal. Like he was
Hmm.
really really bad. I wanted to say he like double digit penalties. Like I think he led the league in penalties at one point. Like really really rough start to his career, and that's kind of why I'm at have him at number 7, because guys that are late bloomers like that, like I don't think he's going to fall off. I don't think this is a 1 year. Like he was always growing as a pass blocker. Like pass blocking was his thing, and then now the Raiders had the number one, running back last season.
Hmm.
Running back and offensive line go hand in hand. It's hard to give one praise without giving the other. And Josh Jacobs was high on my list. I'm going to reward the best offensive lineman on the Raiders list with that too.
Fair. I don't have
But
any
yeah,
I don't have any problem. If I didn't have Armstead or Bakatari on my list, he would have been 9 or 10 for sure.
2018, 15th overall pick, Colton Miller
Hmm.
out of UCLA, 6'9".
Damn.
The
Big
only
boy.
player probably taller than Jordan Mailata in the league.
Damn. All right. Shall I go on to my number 6?
Please do.
All right. My number six is a guy. I won't, bore you with too many stuff, so I'll just get right into it. Coming in at, like you just mentioned, 6'8", 265 pounds from Sydney, Australia, Mr.
Wow, hold on.
Jordan Mailata.
Can I take a timeout? Because I also
Hmm.
have Jordan Mailata at number
Look at
six.
that. We are
I'll
matching way
let
too
look.
much.
We're doing well. I'm proud of you. Take it over, sir. But yes, we're on the same path here.
Yeah, I mean, for a guy who didn't play any football till he came to America and then went to, obviously Stoutland U with the Eagles offensive line coach. But man, what a story for him. I mean, to come from playing rugby and now arguably the best tandem of tackles in the NFL with him and Lane Johnson just paving the
You're right
way.
about that.
And he's had like really good marks too. I mean, the sacks can come down a little. I know his first year or two he did struggle a bit with sacks, and then this past season he gave up 6 sacks, had 7 penalties. But I mean, when you
Yeah,
play over 1,000 snaps, that's can happen at
it
times.
happens. Yeah, can't win them
Um,
all.
yeah, but I mean his passing grade and run blocking, I believe, has been over 80 on PFF the past 3 years or 2 years. So he got better and then continued to stay consistent, and he's typically pretty dependable on the health. I mean, 15. He played 3 years, 15 games, 14 and 16 last year. So and they gave him a very very team friendly contract for being on our list the sixth best center in the league, which is crazy.
Yeah, well,
But yeah,
that's what the Eagles do.
yeah, that's all I got on our Mr. Milata. But man, it's such a cool story, and he's a funny guy. He's a cool dude. He can sing. He can do a lot of
That's
things,
true.
but he's a hell of a tackle.
Yeah,
I'll tell you that.
I mean, and this won't sound impressive at all, but like the package, the story, and the process to get him here. Like every week, I pick my guy who's lower on this list and who I think is going to be in the top five next year.
Hmm.
And Mulata's that guy for me. I know at number six, saying he's going to be top five or top three isn't really much of a jump, but I mean, we didn't do offensive tackles last year, but if you consider guys like Slater, who I had number 10, like he would have been a top five tackle if we did these rankings last year.
Yeah.
Uh, Darrisaw is a guy who, he was a first round pick. He's been solid since he got in the league. Sewell was one of the best prospects ever as an offensive tackle. These are guys like that. I wouldn't be surprised they made a list. I mean, Colton Miller, every guy I've had on this list so far are first round picks. Um, but a guy like Mulata who came out of nowhere who didn't know how to play football, like he's getting better. You gotta understand this guy's still learning how to play the game. He's gonna get some experience. Him at six, jumping to top three next year would not surprise me at all. I mean, we got some heavy hitters in front of him. Don't get me wrong. This top five is loaded with some incredible players, but
Yeah.
his trajectory, like this guy from going to not playing football at all to now being a franchise left tackle,
Hmm.
and at that, like the best rushing offense or top three rushing offense in the league. Like, dude has been insane. Pass rushers can't get around him, and run
Oh, he's
blockers, as a run blocker, he's
too tall, too
steamrolling people.
wide,
Yeah.
and he's
You ever see
athletic.
rugby, man?
Yeah.
Rugby is a violent,
Have
violent
you seen
game
his
where they
rugby
just,
highlights? He just
oh, it's
runs people
insane.
over. It's just like when he's run blocking, when they go, the amount of times I see him just like one arm a cornerback and just toss them like they're like a beanbag is
Yep.
crazy.
See
Crazy.
that part, you knew the run blocking game would just naturally translate because that's what rugby does. But and it's almost insane to think, but like once he learns how to really start pass blocking, it's gonna be insane. Like he's so big they can't get around him just off his short
Yeah, I mean, if they're
volume.
that's why you don't always see. I mean, I think in our case, in the top 10 list, we have a lot of versatility and in tackles that are able to do both pass and run blocking effectively. But I would say a large portion of NFL tackles like are either really good at one and like kind of struggle with the other, or they're not like equal in those kind of terms because run blocking is a lot of just brute strength and vision, whereas pass blocking is like half of it's all on your feet. It's just a matter of your steps and getting
Yeah.
back and then using your hands. So they're two completely different techniques to master. And for him to just come in and be this good already is crazy. I mean, he's gifted athletically for sure. But I mean, hey, if you told me a seventh round pick, the 233rd overall draft pick was going to be, a top six tackle in the NFL and in his
It's
third
true.
season,
Yeah.
that'd
I
sign me
mean,
up.
I don't know. I can't think of anyone off the top of my head besides I think Brady was a seventh round pick. I want to say. or sixth round,
No,
whatever the
he was
two.
like sixth round, I think.
Yeah, he's probably the greatest seventh round pick ever, right? Or he's on the path
He's
to
up.
that. I
He's got to
can't
be
think
up
of anyone
there.
off the top of my head.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know. I mean, there's a lot of great undrafted players, but as far as seventh round,
seventh round. That's the thing. Like they always say, undrafted players have an advantage because they get to pick where they want to go. Seventh round, you're kind of like they're just throwing dice at you, and you got no chance really, but they're going to give you a shot. You're going to a team maybe can help you. I mean, to be fair, Mulata, like, could you think of a better team to go to than the Eagles?
I mean,
Like Jeff Stoutland is one of the best offensive line coaches in the world.
honestly, I'm looking at a list that was made in 2021, and I think my lot is better than a lot of these players. Let's
What, seventh
see.
round draft picks?
Julian Edelman, Marquise Colston, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Jay Ratliff, Donald Driver,
I don't know who
Jamal
Jay Ratliff is.
Anderson, Shannon Sharp
He's
probably has the edge, and Bo Jackson. Okay.
oh Shannon. All right, so Shannon Sharp has to be the best.
Oh, Howard Carmichael was a seventh round pick.
Oh, go Birds. So your top five is
He's top
probably
five in seventh round picks, I'd say.
Sharp, Edelman, Carmichael, Bo Jackson, Mulata, in whatever order you want to put it in.
Yeah,
That's your top five. Sharp is your
yeah.
number one, easy, but whatever, he's in your top five best seventh round draft picks ever.
You think over Bo Jackson?
No, he's in the top five. Like Bo Jackson, Edelman, Mulata, Sharp, and Carmichael. Without any order, I mean,
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
no,
okay.
Sharp is definitely the best. Sharp is definitely the best out of that five. I'd probably say Sharp. If I had to fill up the top of my head, probably Sharp.
Bo.
I don't know. Bo didn't play long. He was an incredible athlete, but he got hurt. I would even say Carmichael and Edelman, then Bo, then maybe Mulata.
Uh, I'd probably have Edelman fourth out of those other older guys.
I mean, he produced. Bo Jackson's more of like
I mean,
he didn't
now
have.
we're getting off topic here, but how long
We're getting completely off
am I
topic.
like giving Bo Jackson like way too much credit?
It's the myth of Bo Jackson. That's the thing. Like he's one of the greatest athletes to ever touch the
Yeah, because he
planet. He
played
only played
baseball.
4 years in the NFL though.
Was it really only 4 years?
Yeah, he only played 38
He had
games.
one Pro Bowl. He only
Dude,
played
this I
four
mean,
years.
it's the myth.
I never knew this. That's crazy.
It's the
Wow.
myth of Bo Jackson. That's what I'm probably being generous by putting him in the top five, but it's the myth. I fell for the myth.
He never even had over 1,000 rushing yards in his career or in a
Yeah,
season.
but he played baseball and he got hurt, man. He had that Tua hip injury that ruined his career.
He didn't play more than 11 games an entire. Wow, this is kind of crazy. I
See,
never
you fell for
realized.
the myth.
I mean, he was before my time, obviously, but I never realized he was kind of. Wow.
Yeah,
That's
look at
wild.
that. Dakota and Tim go over top 10 off the tackles, debate the best seventh round pick ever, and
Is
Dakota
Bo
learns how
Jackson a
great
fraud?
Dakota learns the truth about Bo
Yeah.
Jackson.
It's funny.
Hey, listen, but you know what? It's the guy you got to factor in. This guy played 4 years in the NFL while being a professional baseball player.
Well,
That's the part you
yeah,
miss.
that's yeah. I guess he. I mean, how many years in baseball did he play?
Off the top of my head, I don't know. But regardless, we're getting
Yeah,
off the
yeah,
track
we
here.
are.
Jordan
This is not
Mailata is
not a
my
throwback.
he's my as I say, my big dick Dickerson kind of mold kind of guy.
Big dick
He's
mold.
I know it's this one's not as impressive as the other ones, but he is a top three talent going into next year. Top five, top three, even though he's number six now, but he breaks that ceiling because the guy's getting better. And
Okay.
it's incredible.
All right. Shall I break open the top five?
Go ahead.
All right. My number five here, a guy I definitely did not think was going to recover from his pretty rough start to his career on a pretty rough team. But this past season, over 1,000 snaps played, only 2 penalties, 3 sacks allowed, and overall grade was 89.1 on PFF. And he's been getting better. He's helped Saquon really resurrect his season last year. So I got Andrew Thomas of the Giants here, number five.
So before I let you do your thing, I
Oh
also
God.
have Andrew Thomas
Oh
at number
God.
five,
Why don't you
and
lead it off then? You lead it off.
he's the third of my four first
Hmm.
round offensive tackles in the 2020
So
draft class.
I did have those two then.
So yeah, I'm always
Yeah.
teaching you something. Now I'm glad we got to this point because I wanted to bring him up as a point of reference for the Quentin Nelson debate that we had.
Okay.
Now, Quentin Nelson, as I
don't see how this relates,
was
but go for it.
correctly stating that
Mm.
he is one of the best players on that team, as you should be when you're making 20 million a year. And he clearly fell back and went backwards and wasn't that good as he what it normally is, and his team fell apart. And
Well,
you ripped
I
me and
mean,
yelled at me saying, "Oh, can't put that struggles on him," or blah blah
quarterback,
blah.
but
The Giants, the best offensive performance I've seen from the Giants in the last 5 years was this past season. Saquon came back to life. Daniel Jones looked like he was a capable quarterback. Is it a coincidence that coincided with the best season of Andrew Thomas's entire career? Probably the best season of any offensive lineman for the Giants in the last
oh,
decade.
that's weird. A healthy running back, a healthy quarterback. Maybe that's a good recipe for a lineman to look good. I don't know. Did
You know
did
what's a
Quentin
good
Nelson
recipe
have
of
that?
keeping? What's a good recipe for keeping a running back healthy?
He had
A
a
good
Matt
offensive lineman.
Ryan on freaking life support, and
Okay, relax. Let's not prop Daniel Jones up here saying he's great. But listen, what's the
he's an
difference between
average
Andrew Thomas
starter.
and Quentin Nelson? One had a career year, the other one had a down year and an injured running back. The career
You
year
were gonna
offensive
defend a
lineman had a
Giants
healthy
player?
running back. I'm just saying it's a point to be taken. But yeah, no, Andrew Thomas came in at number 5. He played incredible. He had a rough rookie year, but I mean, you got to be, he was the first offensive tackle taken in arguably the best offensive tackle draft class ever, and he found his footing. Now, I do have a number 5 right behind a guy from his draft class, mostly
Hmm.
because he did struggle coming out of the gate, where this other guy just has dominated once he touched the league and has been dominating ever since.
Okay.
So, tell me about Andrew Thomas.
Yeah, I mean, no, I think the strength of the jump he's had, like I mentioned you saw Saquon come back and have a really good season, and he had openings, he had holes to run through. And credit to Andrew Thomas. I believe when they drafted him, it was a pretty big reach, if I'm not mistaken. Like he was like a top
I
10 pick,
mean,
I think, and it was supposed to go later in the first.
no, he was a fourth overall. He was
Yeah,
like
he was
probably a
fourth
top 10,
overall.
top
I
15
feel like
pick.
he wasn't supposed to go that high, though. I feel like that was a big deal.
Well, I mean, you had four, I think it was 4 or 5 offensive tackles taken in the first round, and 4 of them are on our top 10 list 3 years
Oh, yeah.
later. So, I
Oh,
mean,
yeah,
yeah,
it
there was a
worked out
highly
now.
debate on who was the
I'm just
best.
saying. Um, but yeah, I mean, yeah, struggled, figured it out. Like I was mentioning earlier, like a lot of these players are really proficient in pass and run blocking, and he finished top 7 in both categories on PFF's rankings. So he's doing something right. He's got his footwork down. That line has definitely gotten better, and we watched that Giants offensive line not be able to get their shit together for years now.
No,
I mean, they
yeah,
haven't had a good line in since Eli was playing. So
yeah.
it's been bad, but he's obviously pretty good if I have him at 5. But yeah, not much more to add. I think there's a lot of strength in these younger tackles coming in. Like you said, that draft class is crazy strong. But that's all I got for him. So I can roll into my number 4 if you've got nothing else to add.
Go ahead. Yeah.
All right, well, this is where I think we're gonna see how close our list really is because so far it's pretty similar. But my number 4 is a guy. I feel like in the past you have critiqued me on not being high for this guy, but I think he's
Hmm.
proven his worth, and he was on the top 100. I think pretty disrespectfully. He should have been a lot higher,
Okay.
but I got Tristan Wirfs here at number 4 from the Tampa Bay Bucks.
Really
Yeah,
interesting.
why is that
Okay.
interesting?
I actually also have him
Oh,
at
here we
number
go.
4. I
Okay,
mean, listen, when we're on, we're on.
damn. Okay.
Um, I'll let you continue. I will say one thing. I was maybe a little incorrect because I'm starting to merge the 2020 and 2021 NFL offensive tackle draft
I'll say
classes
Thomas. I
together,
think was
but
2020 actually.
I think he was too. Yeah,
Yeah.
because yeah, but Slater was the year after, and I don't know when Worf was from, but go on.
I don't know. I can figure it out. But
He is whenever it was. He came in the league hot and ready to go.
I mean, yeah, and he was Brady's probably best asset besides Mike Evans. He was
Yeah,
20. He was also the 2020 draft. He was first round pick
he was
from
a player
Iowa.
that like there's not many teams that like you find like contending teams. Obviously, it's different because the Buccaneers had like what the 13th overall pick when they took him.
Hmm.
Um, the year, and then they managed to get Brady in the offseason. So going from a nearly top 15 drafting team to getting Tom Brady, changes your the dynamic completely. But you're not thinking like, who do we draft to go win the Super Bowl next year? They draft an offensive lineman that is suddenly the best at his position immediately as soon as he touches the field. That's quite impressive.
Hmm.
You know, he's been a top five offensive tackle as soon as he entered the league. He's the combination of Rashawn Slater, who was incredible his rookie year, and Andrew Thomas, who was incredible his sophomore year. Like, he's been so consistent. He's been incredible. I mean, it helps playing, as the Billy's rules. It helps playing in front of Tom Brady.
For sure.
But I guess as Billy's rules, you got to give him credit because he's been protecting Tom Brady's blind side for the last 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'll be interesting how he plays with someone not named Brady.
Yeah. I mean, over 900 snaps on offense this past season. Only had 6 pressures on the quarterback, and that was with well, Brady did play last year, but
He did, yeah.
uh I don't know if he's gonna be impacted by Baker Mayfield being back there now, which
Uh,
I feel like he holds on
yeah,
to the ball quite a lot, but well, and Brady was really
I
quick at
mean,
it, but
Brady's at that point in the career, like he's just not going to get sacked. He's going to
but
throw it to a check down, and he'll never get sacked.
but I'd argue worse is if not one of the best, like a top 3 pass blocking lineman in general across the league. Um, I mean, his PFF grade for pass blocking has been 82 or better since he's gotten to the league. So consistent with the pass blocking. I mean, his run blocking is good too. It's just not as incredible as his pass blocking. But yeah, I mean, he's been consistent. And for, like you said, like for a quarterback like Tom Brady, that's all he really needs out of a lineman is consistency. Um,
Yeah.
and he's just been damn good. I mean, there's really nothing, really not too much to add. Just checking his numbers. 13 games last year, so he missed a couple games, but in the previous year he was a all pro and pro bowler. And then this past season he made Pro Bowl and was second team all pro. So, he's obviously on his rise there. And entering his 4th year, I could see him. I don't know if he's going to jump my top 3, but he'll definitely be in this top 5 range for quite a bit, I would say, until one of those guys kind of falls off. But
I mean, I don't know. He's been so good recently. Like he's been impressive. There's not. I don't think you can think of a better way to start your career than winning a Super Bowl your rookie year, blocking for the greatest NFL player ever, and being an All Pro pretty much the first 2 years of your career, or Pro Bowl, or whatever it was.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, he's not much. I mean, listen, it's nice to be drafted to a team and Tom Brady plays for and winning a Super Bowl right away. But let's see how it goes now because it'll be a complete night and day going from Tom Brady to Baker Mayfield as an offensive lineman.
yeah. I
Um,
mean, I don't. They. We'll see. We'll see.
so I'm going to go into my number three, crack the top three before us.
All right, go ahead.
Now, I want to start this one off with like honestly, he's got to be part of the weirdest trade in NFL history. Like, if you factor in, like, don't get me wrong, like the Houston Texans gave up everything, like
Mm,
so much to get this guy, especially an offensive tackle, which like you kind of saw, like everyone knew he was a good player, elite even, but you saw how much they gave up from all the first round picks, the money they paid him. You're like, God damn, man, like he better be Tom Brady or this is going to be a disaster. And he's gotten better since he got traded to Houston. He's been the best of his career. Like he's easily one of the top end offensive tackles the last 3 or 4 years. He got the highest paid offensive lineman contract ever in NFL history, I believe, on his most recent extension. Um, he's been awesome. The team kind of stinks, but he's been incredible. If you look at his trade tree, like the amount of things that happened from the trade that was made to get him, it is so long and so narrow. It's so all over the place. It looks like a family tree in like an inbreeding colony. Like there's branches all over the place. It is everywhere, and it had something to do with the Tyreek Hill signing, had something to do with the Bradley Chubb trade. Micah Parsons' draft pick was affected. Trey Lance's trade was all about it. So many different things. But since he's got to the team, it's hard to argue that it wasn't worth it because he's been so good. So I
hmm.
got Laramie Tunsil at number three.
Oh man, we match again. I also have Laramie Tunsil at number 3.
I had a feeling we were going to match in the top three. It looks like we are. But Tunsil, honestly, he's so good, but in almost a way you feel like he gets disrespected. One, because of the trade I mentioned, because it was so much to give up for him.
And the gas
Two, he
mask.
plays, yeah, well, the gas mask, yeah. Two, he plays for a team that is so irrelevant, no one cares about.
I think they might
And
be a little better this year. I think we talked about that last
I
time.
mean, a little better is probably like 5 wins. I don't
Good.
really
They
think
got
there's
good,
much to
good some
go.
good talent. They just need to put it together.
We'll see about that. They have a couple nice rookies and young players, and they have Laramie Tunsil. That's about it.
Rookie quarterback, good running back. Yeah, I mean,
Again,
I think I
first,
like you said I mean, from going from like a gas mask on draft day to still going in the first round, then getting traded along with Kenny Stills, a fourth round pick and a sixth round pick to the Texans in exchange for two first round picks, a second round pick, a cornerback, an offensive line. Like it's a monster trade for this guy. And he
yeah,
was like good right out the gate. Like a lot of our tackles, besides some of the other guys we mentioned, who had like rough rookie years, like Andrew Thomas, but a lot of the other guys have been good since they got into the league. And I mean, Tunsil, I think his first year in Houston wasn't phenomenal, but after that, he's been like lights out. He's been one of the best.
yeah. 1 year where he got hurt, but
21
he's been
or was
incredible
it
since then.
20?
Yeah.
2020 or 2019? I
So,
forget.
so can I ask you something? Because I mean, Tunsil was incredible. Everyone knew he was such a good player, prospect. He
Hmm.
was a top three draft pick.
Yeah.
Everything was going his way. Then the whole gas mask video shows up and everything on draft day, which is what was really killing him. But
Hmm.
everyone kind of knew like this guy's still really good.
Yeah.
What is more detrimental? Gas mask video dropping on draft day
Hmm.
or Jalen Carter car crash that kills teammate? You're not involved, but you are involved kind of drop because there's similarities. Carter and Tunsil were easily two of the best prospects in their entire draft class, regardless of position. Both slid to right around the same range. Carter was 10. I think Tunsil ended up at 13 or 11, give or take. Both slid purely because of the off field stuff, and both slid for off field stuff that were completely different. Carter's was, death and legal, breaking the law, speeding and everything, but wasn't directly, involved. Tunsil just, seemed like he was smoking weed, playing, having fun, sent a Snapchat to someone that he shouldn't have, and nothing criminal against it, but concerning. More character than criminal. What is the bigger concern? Two players, obviously ignoring what Tunsil has
Uh,
done now.
I I mean, they're so different where one is like super super serious and the other's like just kind of childish. I don't know. I mean, he still went 13th overall, Tunsil. So it's not like he
Well,
dropped too much. I mean, I know he was
I
supposed to go
mean, you
like
were
top
talking about a
5,
guy that
but
could have been top one, like the first overall pick in the draft.
I think if I'm an NFL, well, so it's tough because Tunsil is just like that's like a character thing. Is he immature? Is he taking this? Is he going to be serious once he gets in the league, or is he just going to goof around and not put the team first kind of thing? Whereas I feel like Jalen Carter was more of like, is he going to be able to play? Is there any legal ramifications? Like, is he going to miss games for this? Is he going to ever play? Is he going to get arrested? Like, what's going to happen? So it's
You got to
tough.
remember though, Tunsil came out in the Josh Gordon, Martavius Bryant, Justin Blackman era, where people were getting suspended entire seasons.
Justin Blackman, what a fucking
They say
bust.
that listen, Martavius Bryant, Josh Gordon could have been awesome if they weren't testing for weed
Blackman
like
was
they are
supposed to be
now.
the second coming of Calvin Johnson. Like that's
Well,
how good he was supposed to be coming at OSU. Was it OSU? Yeah, and he just
yeah,
fucking shit the bed. What an idiot.
that's why off the field concerns are real.
I don't know. I think Carter went to the best situation for him in the Eagles because of the staff there, the players there, the veterans there. But I think if I mean, because I don't also know the full details of that story. On limited knowledge, I would probably say Carter just because you don't. There's a lot of unknowns. Whereas like Tunsil was just like he's just being stupid. You know what I mean?
I
So
my next question now, what's more uncomfortable? Being a guy like Will Levis, who was in the green room, or what was the other guy that dropped? Someone I forget. There was someone else that
he was
dropped, or Junior Smith.
confidently in the green room.
Yeah, so like to be someone like Will Levis who's in the green room who doesn't get drafted, who's sitting around, or being a guy like Laramie Tunsil whose gas mask video shows up during the draft day and you're in the green room and sweating that out. Like,
Oh no,
what would you rather?
Tunsil for sure. That's worse.
Really, man, to bring him back? To bring him back on the second day? Like, Geno Smith had this where you have to go back to the draft the second day for the
Yeah, but
second round. What
it's
is?
still like it's a little embarrassing, but it's like a cool moment. Like it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. Like you never get drafted again. Whereas Tonto, it's like, oh, I fucked up. I shouldn't have done that. Or maybe he did it on purpose. We'll never know.
Who knows? Who knows? Maybe that's the ultimate like sign of well
Yeah.
done, sir. You just had it planned.
So he's in my book he got lucky. He got was able to slide through a lot of that drama.
Fair
But
enough. Well, hey, I'm gonna let you have this one. So who's your number two? Spice it up a little bit.
all right. Um so I debated this for a while and I just body of work, I would say both these players are a coin flip. I think one of them has probably been at the peak a little more consistently, but they're both like 1 and 2 or 1A and 1B. But I looked at last year specifically, and my number one did not give up any sacks and hasn't given up any sacks in the past 2 seasons. So my number two, I went with Trent Williams from the 49ers.
Hmm.
I think he was phenomenal with Washington. He went over to, he dealt with injuries, dealt with shitty management, shitty coaches. Finally
Yeah,
got out of
ownership.
Washington. I feel like there's been a lot of linemen that are just trapped in Washington that finally get
There's a
out.
lot of players,
A lot of,
that are trapped in.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, poor Scary Terry. He's fucking phenomenal wide receiver. But, anyways,
Hey,
yeah, Trent Williams finally got out of Washington, goes to a really good San Fran team, and just continues the ball. Honestly, I think he got better since he got to San Fran, which is pretty crazy to say because he was already top five. Because it was him and Tyron Smith for a while, um, and in the NFC East, but they were the best in the NFL. But yeah, I mean, his just body of work is crazy. I mean, 19 total pressures allowed in the past season, including the playoffs, and only 3 of those were a hit or a sack. So that's pretty good.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you don't even really need. I feel like need stats for Trent Williams because it's just Trent
Oh yeah,
Williams.
he's
Like
he's
he's
incredible.
just he's just been so good since he got in the league in 2010, and he's coming on. Let's see, he's 35 now. So I mean, we'll see how long he can sustain it. Right? We saw it happen to Jason Peters. He was a Hall of Fame caliber tackle for a long time, and then injuries started to kind of take control. But I mean, 10-time Pro
I mean,
Bowler, 2-time All Pro. The 2-time All Pro
he
is kind of
was.
disrespectful. He should
It
have been
is.
in the All Pro more. I
I
wonder
mean,
how many
he
seconds he got. Damn, only one second team All Pro. That's wild, huh?
but he's like he came in. He was like a top five, top 10 pick or whatever. Super prospect
Fourth,
coming out.
yeah, fourth overall, 2010 draft.
I'm surprised. I'm surprised, and I'm kind of not surprised at all. I also went with the change up because I think
Okay.
anyone anyone talking about football outside of Philadelphia would go Trent Williams, Lane Johnson. Lane Johnson's probably not even in their top two. Let's be honest. But I'll
I
get to
saw
some.
quite a bit of lists that had him number two.
I'll throw out a couple things for our number two guy, but then I'm spending the rest of it for the number one because Trent Williams gets enough dick sucking on national TV. He gets it enough. Don't you know, he deserves it, but he gets enough. So yeah, I mean he's had the highest graded PFF offensive lineman grade the last 3 years. All 3 years he's been with the 49ers.
Mm-hmm.
He is one of 6 different offensive linemen to have back-to-back first team All Pros 30 or older. Of the 6 of them, 4 of them are Hall of Famers. The only ones that aren't are him and Andrew Whitworth. I mean, Trent Williams is a Hall of Famer. Andrew Whitworth, I would even give a throw vote, probably is as well. So incredible. He's gotten better with age. I mean, the guy's incredible. I'm going to go with Lane Johnson number one, and I'll tell you one reason why he's number one. Because what he did at the end of the season to the playoffs into that Super Bowl run on
Mm-hmm.
a torn abductor
Yep.
cannot be
Yep.
minimalized. Like, do you realize like he was playing elite offensive tackle, like top five, top three, top two, top one offensive tackle in the league with a torn abdomen? Insane.
And this is
Him with a
probably his best year
oh
of his
god, yeah.
career.
Him with a torn abdomen is better than 99% of the offensive tackles in the NFL, without a doubt.
Which
If
is
you want to
crazy.
say, if you want to say guys like Tunsil and Trent Williams are better than Lane Johnson with a torn ab, fine. But with a torn abdomen, he is better than 99% of the NFL, and it's
Mm,
insane because he got so much better. When he got hurt is when he got better. It in an insane
healed
logic
them.
doesn't make sense. Like the same argument we said about the steroids. Ever since the whole steroid bust, he's gotten so much better.
Mm,
But the fact that he was playing excellent, they went on a Super Bowl run. He was at no point a liability. He was a strength for their Super Bowl run. With a torn ab, cannot be understated. Like it truly was incredible.
yeah, and this past season he allowed 0 sacks and only
Yep,
8 pressures, which that accounts for only 1.5% of his pressures. 1.5 of his snaps had pressures on all the passing snaps.
pretty good. Definitely not
Pretty
bad.
damn good. Yeah, he hasn't allowed a sack since week 11 of the 2020 season, including playoffs.
Yeah, that's just insane. And then when he tore his ab in week 16, 17, I forget what
Yeah,
week it
towards
was,
the
but
end of the year.
if you actually factor in that he one played on it, like we were all worried that he wasn't going to play on it. Then this lunatic was like, "Yeah, I'm just going to play." What, I don't know how that works, but I expected a drop off in production. He looked better, and I cannot understate that. Like when these we talked about a lot of guys that are hurt: Tyrone Smith, Bakatari, Ronnie Staley, Slater. These guys who were hurt and missed a ton of time, or older veterans who are elite, but they just get banged up. This guy is elite when he's banged up. Like
Yeah.
that's the best way to sum it up. When he's hurt, he's elite. And I can't think of an injury, minus like an Achilles or an ACL or something, that is going to be much worse than tearing your ab as an offensive tackle.
And he has that 6 pack to help protect him though. Remember, don't forget about that.
He's he's you know what, the only reason he doesn't get enough credit and consideration as the number one offensive tackle in the NFL, like we're blessing him with, is because he plays on the right side, not the left. That's the only reason.
I mean, he is by far the best right tackle in the league too.
Oh, it's not even close.
Yeah,
It's
I don't
by a
know who.
million.
Yeah. Um, Another stat I just came across. So I said in 2020 he had that sack in week 11. But that was the only sack he allowed that whole year. So in the past 3 years, 1 sack, 20 pressures, and just 4 QB hits in 3 years. 3 years.
Insane. And a torn ab in between.
And a torn ab. Baller.
Yeah,
Baller.
I mean, I don't know what else you say. I mean, he definitely deserves number one. I don't care. If you asked any
Every list
other,
I saw had Trent Williams number 1, and I thought about it, and I'm just like, yeah, but like everything Lane went through this year, and like I I saw when the Eagles played the Niners. I mean, Trent Williams was still being a beast, but I saw Hassan Reddick, getting after it. So I mean, I don't know. I just Trent Williams is definitely like they are by far the 1 and 2. It's without question. But Trent Williams has been at the top for so long, and I just think what Lane did last year, like you said, and with an injury, I mean,
it's.
Trent's
I
been
mean,
hurt and he's missed games because of it. But
we'll end it on this. Like Lane with a torn ab led us to the Super Bowl. Trent Williams fully healthy.
couldn't keep
They
his
went through
quarterback
what,
upright.
four quarterbacks? Yeah, four
Mm-hmm.
quarterbacks in the NFC Championship game. I mean, listen,
Mm-hmm.
he's not involved in everything. Blocking Hassan Reddick with a tight end is not a good decision, but I don't know, man. It's a lot of injuries for the best offensive tackle in the football to allow, but
I mean,
I don't know.
7 penalties, 1 sack allowed. We only got 6 penalties, 0 sacks for Lane.
Yeah,
Tell
yeah,
me, you
yeah.
tell me.
Everyone can keep slobbing his knob and
Yeah.
losing their mind about him since he got there, but I'll take the guy who with a torn ab is elite.
You know what? I was like 90% sure you were gonna have Trent Williams at 1, and I was gonna have to like fight you to claim for Lane to be number 1. And you know what? This is the first time on the list I'm like happy we had matching players because I feel like tackles can go either way here because there's some elite guys and there's some like we mentioned some young guys who are up and coming and how we kind of throw them in the mix. But our list was pretty damn close to each other, so well done.
Hey, always, I'm proud of you. You're finally
Cheers.
catching on. Cheers to you too, my friend.
Cheers to my orange creamsicle cider. I don't even like spike cider, but fits the
It's a
summer
weird
vibe.
cider to have. I'm all
Yeah, no,
for it.
I like apple cider like by itself. But I just can't get into spike ciders. I don't know what it is. I don't like them. but it was part of a thing I got. So eh.
I got Mondo. It's one of our breweries at work. They got a
I don't
nice
know. It's
little
getting all
German
blurred
lager
out
here.
for legal
Yeah, that's all
copyright,
right.
I guess. What is it
Yeah, I
called?
know it's tough. It's Mondo
Mondo. I've heard of that.
beer. Have you?
I don't know. I feel
I
like
don't
I
think
have.
so.
Am I thinking of
It's like a
Modelo?
craft London brewery.
Mondo beer. No,
Mondo.
not beer and pizza. Come on now. What are we doing here?
So you know it's small when you Google. Is it? Trust me, I deal with this all the time. I'll do stuff on my American phone and I'll Google something and they're like, oh, London, Wisconsin. No, I don't mean London, Wisconsin.
They have cool cans. I don't
Yeah,
know if
see?
I've actually had it though. I will
Well,
say,
here.
I mean, we're getting off topic again, but I will say a lot of times when I'm looking for like new beer and like a beer distributor or something, I'll like find like whatever I'm looking for, whether it's like a stout or like lager or whatever. But a lot of times I'll just go based off the art on the can or the bottle. Like if it looks good and sounds good, maybe it's
Hey,
good.
listen, that's why
Marketing
designers and
101.
marketing get
Yeah.
paid, yeah, paid a lot of money. But all right, brother. Well, I think it was a good list.
It was nice to crown a Eagles player at number one. I think
It's always
that's
sweet.
is that the first time we've had an Eagles player number one? It might be.
Maybe. I'd have to think about it, but I think
I don't
maybe.
think we ever had Kelsey number one, and he's probably who would come next. We never had a Slay's never been number one. Never had a
Yeah.
safety at one. Yeah, I think Lane's the first. So
Wow.
Lane Johnson, congratulations! You are the first Eagle to be crowned a Post-Fades Cheesesteaks top 10 athlete.
Impressive. It took us 3 years.
Number
I
one.
mean, homeboys as we are. So,
Yeah.
cheers to that, my friend.
Cheers to the birds. Cheers to Lane Johnson, and cheers to us. I guess I don't know.
Go birds, baby.
All right. Peace
I'll
out.
talk to you. Peace.
Later. Thank you again for listening to the Post-Fades and Cheesesteaks Sports Podcast. Please like, follow, and subscribe on all your major platforms. Follow us on YouTube. Follow the show on Spotify and Apple. And follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Have a great day, and tune in next week.